Call this meeting of the regular city council to order. Please join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A couple of reminders. If you haven't signed in on the sign-in sheet, please do so now. If you would like to talk during petitions and delegations. Andy says no. We do ask that you silence all cell phones, and if you decide to have a side conversation, please just step outside so the rest of us can hear. All right, let's move on to consent agenda.
I'm sure so you know, I think you guys know, but we found this afternoon there was a clerical error in the area of the city park that the agenda item for post fees for the pool had been added as item second item on unfinished business. So it wasn't on the agenda, but it was said to be on the night. So we'll have that discussion tonight.
Thank you. Anybody see anything?
It's all there, thank you.
I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion. Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Panzer, seconded by Councilmember Jonathan to approve the consent agenda items. Anybody have any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All approved, same sign. Motion passed. All right, petitions and delegations. For all comments, please state your full name and whether you are an Ellsworth City resident. All comments are limited to 5 minutes per person unless the governing body has further questions. We do ask that you keep your comments to relevant city business. This is not a free-for-all. All right, I've got Karen Schreiner on the top of the list.
Karen Schreiner, I live in the city. I am making the motion again, or telling you that I will only mow down once and once back in front of my house until you guys decide where the street is. I just want you to know that don't come and write me up because I'm only mowing because it keeps rolling out into the street and I'm not mowing the street.
What's your address name?
Karen, what's your address?
109 Cedar Crest Drive.
109 Cedar Crest. Thank you. Okay, next I've got Jan Bontrager.
I don't live within the city, but I work within the city, and my concern has to do with pool fees for the Hines apartments. We are charged a $3 fee for every apartment. So every month I'm charged $72 a month for a pool fee. And to date, I only have one tenant that utilizes the pool because he's a younger fellow. And so I'm just asking if there's any way that I could get a reduction in that, because we are low income apartments. My only budget comes from rent and HUD subsidy, and I got a little budget, so but that's my consideration, if you would think about that.
All right, thank you, Jan. All right, next I've got Dan Moon.
Good evening. My name is Dan Moon, Sergeant First Class, retired. I've been a resident of Ellsworth, Kansas now for 11.5 months. I'm from Kansas City. I asked the board for consideration as a tennis player. I've been a player for 13 years, and I'm looking forward to efforting the building of two 12 by 20 backboard tennis courts. They're effective for single tennis players, as well as pickleball players. And I do have a supporting letter from the United States Tennis Association District Executive.
Where would these be at?
I would assume one would be in the public tennis courts at the park, and also one over at the high school tennis courts,
Okay.
affixed to the barrier holes of the tennis courts themselves.
So the high school one, you'll have to get permission from the high school for the high school one,
Okay.
for the high school tennis courts, because we don't have any jurisdiction over the high school tennis courts.
Council members, I would recommend that you have, Mr. Tenbrink. Meet him at Mr. Tenbrink and get plans and decisions made.
Put it together.
Yeah. We've got our
You
rec
don't-
director here. Ronnie
You know Ronnie
Timberlake.
Timbrick in the back?
Yes, I met him.
Okay, yeah, we would encourage you to get the two of you kind of connect and see what you can come up with and come back to us with either a proposal or what you need.
Yeah, we visited already, so yeah, we'll continue to talk and we'll communicate back with you.
Okay. Okay.
Would it be prudent to say that the projected cost would be $1,300 per 12 by 20 for this one?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last is Cindy Miller.
I missed the last city council, but watched it online. Thank you for your time. My name is Cindy Miller. I'm a resident at 303 Missouri, Fair Hills, Kansas. I'd like to start with saying thank you, first of all, to Ronnie. Thank you for all you have done for our city. I believe in 2020, I asked you if the rec center was for sale, as a church plant was looking for a place. And you said, Cindy, no one can afford the work that needs done on that building. And yes, here we are today with a city that cared enough to build it back up to running condition, even has a church attending it. This year, the last meeting, I heard you say you took some of your personal time to raise money to fix our pool and make it better for our families. Tonight, I believe a proposal will be, or has been already voted on. And I spoke with a wise woman this last week, and this is what she said. Do you know what a babysitter costs today for one child, not alone a family? Quote, I will gladly pay the price knowing my child has a safe place to go and to have fun, to socialize, to know my child is being watched and cared for. This mother is neither a high nor a low class mother, just a mother who knows to keep what we have, we need to pay and appreciate, or we will lose it. Wise woman, I think. So I hope you all go for the higher end of the deal so we can keep our city and keep it great. You deserve to be thanked, Ronnie, and we appreciate it. Patrick, I'd like to say to you, thank you for still going strong in our fight for our city, oftentimes having to forfeit your own beliefs. We have grown you to be the man and the attorney that you are today. We stood on opposite sides of the fence 4 city administrators ago, including Ellen. I asked if I could have a Facebook Live at that meeting. You went to your law book to check to see if I could. You came back saying yes, but no outbursts, please. Since that time, you and the city have remained the best it can for all of us to see clearly and to hear. And we thank you for that. Alan, in our visit, you shared with me that recorded meetings can be detrimental because oftentimes the sins are all brought to light. And truthfully, I'm thankful for that because I am now a better citizen because I keep up the best I can, good and bad. I try to help where needed to support our city. Lastly, Dan, who's not here, and Dawn, can you try to speak positive things to one another at the end of our meetings? Our city suffers enough without all the junior high comments. Soon Rhythm and Reels and Cowtown Days will hopefully meet together. It is possible, is it possible, Dawn, that the people willing to help you could help the volunteers for the Rhythm and Reels so we can have both at the same time? And all they needed were the volunteers.
Right.
So to me, the whole team of you together makes sense that for the youth that come to these meetings, and I've heard many of them tell how they don't even want to come back. It's so bad in the end and sometimes in the beginning. Can you be willing to work together in the differences to be good examples for them as they grow up in this city? Can we watch and work together, teaching them it's okay to have differences and we all need to work for a common goal, which is to be the city that people want to be. I wanted to sing Amazing Grace, but I won't.
Okay.
But I will say, it was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did the grace appear the hour we first believed. And you and Dan are both Christians. And really, as a citizen, I don't like to hear you cut each other down.
Yeah, I have something
Okay,
to address that with. After the last meeting, I felt terrible after I got home. And so I sat there and through, I don't think Dan minds me telling this. I texted Dan and said, we need to get together and visit, and Dustin's gone. We don't need to argue, because that was the main reach from all the way back. Dustin's gone. We need a new city clerk. And we just hired a new city administrator. And our differences in the past, we need to put behind us. Dan responded to me immediately, like the next day, he said, I agree 100%. And he was gone last week, so this week, Dan and I are gonna sit down, we've already talked, probably out the golf course somewhere and get a Pepsi and visit about things and see if we can get everything resolved and move forward without any more dilemma.
I thank you for that, because
Yeah.
I wanted to say.
So
that
we agreed with each other to agree to move on. I'm an old bohemian, and bohemians can't get along with themselves. Let alone, someone else, but anyway,
I just want to say publicly, if you don't mind me interrupting just
Sure.
a minute. In this meeting, I was going to say to you and Dan, if you both ran for mayor, I'd have a hard time deciding who to vote for, but I would vote for one of you. Because I know you both would be excellent mayors.
well, thank you. But anyway, I'm glad that I helped you with your concerns.
Yes, matter of fact, it was an answer to prayer because I've been praying. I came after the meeting last time. Because when y'all talked about executive and all the stuff that went on, I thought, holy cow, here we go again. Doors were locked, so I just prayed around
I
the
don't
clock.
think anybody else on the council or even the administrator knew that Dad and I had that conversation. I'm sure he won't mind me sharing that.
I'm sure you won't either, but the main thing is, as Patrick, we go back so many years. This is not just Dan and you. This has been something the city has suffered for all the years that I've lived here. And so it's just something that I think if we all can try to work in our differences, our youth will be better off.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cindy.
Alright. Okay, let's move on to unfinished business. First item, approval of a fireworks ordinance. Ordinance number.
Madam Chairman and council members, I think we incorporated all the things that were discussed last time and Patrick put it all together. We were on December 31st, one or not. We finally just put in there, if we're gonna pull that, we can, from 11:45 to 12:15.
Say that again.
On December 31st, New Year's, from 11:45 to 12:15 a.m. for discharge.
Okay.
And, because there was some talk, it was kind of a neat deal, and I don't know if anybody, it's probably been done anyhow. And that way it covers it there, but, the dates, we kept the same, July 1, 2, from 10, noon to 10? Yeah, noon to 10, then noon to midnight on fire, on discharge from, third, fourth. Sales are based on state statute, right, or state code.
So we removed the section prohibiting the sale of fireworks in residential areas, is that correct?
Yes, because it's telling you what to do at one time was to permit them all, and if you're gonna allow one, you might as well just allow.
And don't ask for
You know, so that removed that section, and then, with the request, at least to mention the city commission last time, removed the requirement to have insurance. Now, as a property owner, that's, you know, make your decisions.
Yeah.
The insurance is only removed on private property or no insurance requirement, no matter where they're selling.
I think we removed it just wherever. I think, you know, if we're gonna require it somewhere, in my opinion, we should require it either everywhere or nowhere.
Okay,
But, maybe cite that, doesn't somebody sell on city property?
Well, yeah, that's different. That's with our lease with the city because.
At least now, in that case.
Yeah.
I would make the argument the city requires that person that's leasing land from the city to have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a property owner, and that's,
got
I
it.
mean, speak on behalf of the city, with a property owner.
That's not in the ordinance though. That would be the ordinance. That would just be our agreement.
Right, it's our agreement with them.
Does it need to be in the ordinance?
I don't believe it
No,
is,
okay.
because we're treating all the property owners the same. And it's, since we're leasing out,
And they have to.
I think we as a
file
city need to require that, from our standpoint. But we're not telling everybody else what to do, we're telling on city-owned property that we're all responsible for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at last time.
Everybody else okay with that?
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
I would entertain a motion.
I approve the fireworks ordinance number 3169 for the city of Ellsworth. For dates and times listed.
Second. All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Panzer to approve ordinance 3169 to repeal the current fireworks ordinances and amend the current fireworks code. Seconded by Councilmember Hanson. Any discussion, any questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passed. I believe the next one is the 2025 proposed fees, continue discussion rates at the pool.
Hello again. Hi. First, I want to just thank City, thank you for the kind words, appreciate that. So since last time I was here, you know, we talked about increase in fees. Of course, we put some information, I put those fees out on Facebook and asked, you know, for concerns through email. Did get some emails back. You know, handful were, you know, against it. You know, most of them were feeling like they were getting double charged, of course. And then, you know, some, you know, keep it the way it is and just up the, you know, the water charge fee, just up that, you know, from $3 to whatever we wanted to decide on to do that. And so, of course, there was a lot of comments on Facebook. I don't know if any of you guys looked at those or not, but sorry about getting the information to you late. I don't know if you had a chance to look at some of those diagrams I gave you, but as you can see on our expenditures of what we spend at the pool compared to our revenue, you know, we are losing. So. Yeah, I mean, we are.
Well, what it boils down to is the pool expense in a year's time. And this does not include Ron's time as part was, you know, yes, it's all part of his job, is about $85,000. Revenue, including the $3 a month fee that's attached to every water meter. Together is about 52,000. So you have a gap of about you would save $35,000 every year. Now that comes out of property taxes, which is now basically almost 2 mils. And so that's where you fall in place. You know, most pools will lose, I mean, in my comments, I wrote to you guys, commissioners last Friday, I made a comment when I was in Oakley building new pool, someone says, Oak will make money, I go, no. It's new pool, they build 97, make money, I go, no. Well, if you have a pool, lose money, why do you have a pool? And I says, well, why do you have a cemetery? There's, for cemetery, we don't charge enough for the cemetery fees. If we were a real business, we would charge a whole lot more to bury people, we charge a whole lot more for lots. But we're also a community of people, so that's where you have to decide. You want to continue on the property tax, which we've got to find a way to pull that back down. And 91 mils is too late, or it ended up 87, something, I think, with the final valuation, or 80. In the mid-80s at least. You know, how do you pull that down and you balance it off? And so I think the key issues, as I mentioned my note Friday, is how do you do the balance between government taxes, utility rates, and then pay that people that use. Of course, you heard tonight, somebody say, well, my people don't use the pool, so why should they have to pay? That's always a real kicker right there. And unfortunately, we can't tax the outside city area. Unless you're a utility person, so those that live outside the city. That are on city water at least, but they're still out there. And that's the real key issue. You know, probably looking back, I believe you guys put this fee in place in the 2006 range. When Mr. Mitchell was here. And I know, like, as I mentioned the other day, Waukegan was probably the first city to do this to guarantee some revenue source. Makes great sense. Like everything else the city does, we don't always keep up. You know, if you were going to depend on that, probably we should have raised it to 4 or 5 a case. But then, of course, you got the argument, should I pay it? I don't use it. But I'll make an argument taxpayer size, and it gives part of my community. I pay for stuff that I don't use no more. I pay in the places where I own property, I pay for kids to go to school. I had kids that go to school, so it's important, it was important back then. Bottom line is, it's important for our whole community. So the balance you might have to make is what's the balance? Or do you put on property tax? Do you do, you know, again, we have to find a way to pull that down. Do you find a happy medium? I really believe the first proposal we brought was not that out of line. I mean, yes, jump. And when you say you want, like I said the other day, if you drove up to, if they put an ad in the paper and says, do you want the price to eggs go up in there $1 tomorrow? We'd all say no. Well, if bird flu continues, they might. And the costs do go up. The labor costs, last year, the city raised what they paid for the lifeguards. One is to get lifeguards. Secondly, that's money going back into the community. And a lot of those youth that work there end up going to college or whatever. And that helps fund whatever. So there's a lot of win-wins here. It's just you need to find that balance.
And the pool's no different, in my opinion, than the library, the golf course, and the airport. None of those are gonna make money. We don't have to make money. It's part of having a community. And if you can share equally and have a good community, that's what it's all about. There's no way you're gonna make a profit on any of that, or even break even, in my opinion. It'd be so astronomical, you couldn't afford it.
And I agree with what Cindy's friend said. I mean, okay, so if you're paying the $3 on your water bill and then you get a season pass, that's $136. Daycare for $136 for the summer. You're not. I mean, you're not gonna find anybody to watch it. Maybe a high school kid, but $136 for 7 days of, pretty much, some of those kids are there 7 days a week, you know, the ones that are. That's pretty reasonable.
Well, and I'm just gonna say that, you know, it's, you know, since COVID's been over, you know, I'm not gonna just limit it to the pool. I'm just gonna say the rec department. It's just, look at all the things that have changed. For the better. I mean, you look at the pool, we paid those lifeguards minimum wage forever, ever since I've been here. So we increased the wages. Of course, You know, I said, Katie Cole, she got the certification to train the lifeguards. You know, we're doing that all in-house where we used to just take them elsewhere. And we're paying for those certifications, where those kids do not have to do that. You know, we're putting in a new kiddie slide that was all raised by, private donations from people in the community. You know, we continue to make improvements. The rec center, look what that's done. Improvements to the ball fields. I mean, it's not like we're sitting on our hands doing nothing.
Yeah.
We are making major improvements to our department, but what comes with that is increased cost.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's what people gotta realize. That we can't have things for free.
And I like it where the non-resident fees are within the $3 per month that we're charging on the water bill, because that puts a non-resident basically paying the same as a resident, keeps it fair. And you're not punishing them because they're not a resident, but yet they get the benefit of paying what the residents do. It's that close. You're talking about 40 cents difference. I mean, that's really remarkable that you get it that close.
And just to get, we talked about that option from our last meeting, the form is just for, household residents. The guest list is going away. And so,
I think that's one of those things that, a great idea that gets abused. I mean, and that happens everywhere. So
well, that can, I mean, if you look at,
we're not normal.
if you look at that chart right there, we mailed out last year 1,100 forms. And the guests on the list outside the city limits was 419 people
That we're getting in for free.
that lived outside the
That
city.
live outside the city, right?
I think we should try this option one, see how it goes, give it a shot. That's my opinion.
So we're gonna do the $2, $100, $30, and then $250 for the rental. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think rental's the same for everybody.
Yeah, same for everybody, yeah.
And rental, we were less on rental, but when Ron and I said our real cost to have a rental. And again, I'll make the argument that rentals should pay for themselves. Going to the pool, providing activities for our children is one thing. Having an event that you want to sponsor or have with family or birthday or whatever, I think that's a different game. I mean, and there should be a value to it.
But you're still paying guards and all of that when they rent the pool, so I mean, that really, that isn't that much when you talk about paying your guards and everything to be there for those events. I just don't think $136 for essentially, hopefully, about 3 full months is too much to ask at all.
Well, one of those options, very last option, was to reduce our hours.
Yeah.
I mean, don't really want to do that, especially when you're only open, not even open 3 months out of the summer, so.
How many kids on average do you have at the night swim? Or how many?
That varies, because the month of June is hard because of all games going on, so. It just
No one day is the same.
varies, yeah, so
And you'll still have the adult swim from like 5 to 6.
5 to 6, yeah.
And I think
And that's the thing too, is, with Adult Swim, when they come in, they'll have to pay just like a daily fee.
Or get a pass.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
about a third of my pass.
Yeah.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we approve the 2025 full fee proposals as listed. And that would be AIR 25-033.
Can you add to that option 1?
Option 1, yeah.
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Councilmember Panzer to approve the on this 2025 pool proposed fees, option 1, seconded by Councilmember Renard. Any discussion, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Thank you,
Thanks,
Ronnie.
guys.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, we'll move on to new business, and we've got Ellsworth County Fair Association. Talk about their agriculture complex proposal.
Without permission, but I did another board member who.
Oh,
Of
absolutely.
course.
Okay, he came a little late, so.
Oh, door's always open. Just-
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Close it because of.
Just make sure that he signs in on the sheet.
As mentioned in the agenda memo, I know this has been talked about for a couple of years maybe, but, city attorney and I have been with the fair board and their legal counsel, regarding this new pavilion.
I'm Sarah Goss, represent the Ellsworth County Fair Association. We have 3 other board members with us, Keith Ehrlich, Sabina Norris, Troy. Thanks for giving us a few minutes of your time. 3 administrators ago, we started, this process and, much like your resilience to keep the city going despite challenges, we share the same resilience to see this project to fruition, despite some challenges. So, about a year ago, we were really close to, moving forward and breaking some ground. The final piece that came up for us was, the maintenance building, the existing city maintenance building. And if Alan forwarded you kind of our diagram and layout, that it was in your packet. So, that structure sits directly in the middle of what we're proposing to do. So, this is the existing barn, this is the rec center. We're proposing a covered complex, like a covered arena complex, to sit right here on a leased site. This is the maintenance building that sits directly in the middle. Really, our plans haven't changed. We've raised, to date, about $170,000 towards the project, which we're expecting to cost $50,000. So, you know, we're in a place where we are very much ready to move forward. What we set out to do about a year ago was to discuss the maintenance building with city council. At that point, city really had some other more important things to deal with. So, with Alan on board and things, the water seems to be a little calm, but coming back again. Our question to you, and I guess where we would like a discussion and potentially action on is, 1, would the city consider selling that building to the Fair Association at a fair market price, fair value? And then if so, could we negotiate those terms with your administrator and with your council, move forward with that purchase and then move forward with signing the lease? The lease documents exist. We would just like to purchase of that structure. We see it as a potentially really nice fit that could really augment that whole complex. It could serve a lot of purposes yet to be determined. It could be meeting space, concession stands, place, space, lots of options there. But with it being in the middle of the proposed site, it's just a little bit clumsy.
What are we using that building for now?
That is where, our prisoners cruise work out of.
Prisoners who's
It's
working out.
basically a 40 by 50 building. I
Is
looked at
it in very good shape?
No, it's one of those things, it's gonna cost a whole lot more to build a new one than
Yeah.
value that building. I get the.
As I understand, it's been moved once before.
That was George Socek's whole shit, down there by the ball.
Yeah.
That's where he had his chainsaw. sharpened
Correct,
place.
and so it's been moved onto that site. When we first talked about this, we talked about moving it again, but realized it's probably a bad idea for a building that's already been moved one time, so. We're willing to do the work to, increase our budget, raise the extra funds, do what needs to be done to purchase that building and include that in the scope of the project. But we would need your permission to work with the city to make that possible.
Okay, so what I'm saying,
Questions that you have in Fair Association members, please support and help, people with that, whatever feedback.
Patrick, rather than us put a bunch of money into that building to get it up to date, fix it. This might go out on a limb, why don't we just donate that building to the Fair Association? And then that would be like a gift to them and they could use their other monies to improve that.
Except the city's gonna need to build some space.
Okay,
And I think we had discussion, I think there's a willingness on both parties to find a number. And we tossed some numbers down, and I want to toss them out here for discussion. A number that's fair to both parties when they take the building over and, you know, and if we build some more space, because we have some storage equipment out there. And we'd probably move something new for gonna do some over to our shop area.
I was
That
gonna
way
say, we
it's
got two
fenced in.
buildings, we got two big buildings up there.
And how that worked that all in there, we can work that out. And as I told when I first met with Sarah, first I told her was is, you know, I'm livestock show guy through and through. I mean, I still Jesse County Parish yet, so. When you finish livestock green, I get kind of excited, even though I'm a city guy. But the point is, I think it's good facilities, good for these communities. We're an ag community and I know what the spring shows do. My daughter showed the spring shows for 8 years and I know what we pull through and that has, you know, it's been 10 years since she showed and that has maybe doubled since then. And it's an event just like summer basketball or track or whatever the case may be. The difference, of course, with these events is there's people that bring a lot of dollars to town.
Yeah.
And a lot of economy comes to town and it does show your ag base for the community, which I think is good for, you know, solidifying rule and.
Sure, the purpose, I mean, the idea, the purpose is that it's more than just a county fair, that we can do more, not just even livestock shows, but educational events. And I think you're getting to talk about some recreational opportunities that we could consider partnering with the rec department. We've had a great relationship with Ronnie and the rec department. The Fair Association, you know, purchased the floor covering that goes down to make that a multi-purpose facility. So we've really been able to forge a good relationship and make this into quite a complex. And it's just a really great asset for the community. And we see this as just a way to continue to enhance that.
Well, I guess I would say just figure out what it's worth. I don't. Can they stick the other stuff in that shed on Gay Street or what are they gonna, you gotta build another building or?
Not right now, I don't think we need to.
Okay,
We'll need that, I still need to discuss more of that with staff yet, but.
yeah.
Because we got the space with those two mid buildings up there now, don't we?
I don't know what's they stuck,
You know, as I've been told by. Let's see, Troy's here, is that, you know, not privileged we get very so much anymore. You know, the good part about it is, the residents of the correctional facility are being used in a lot of businesses here in town. Good thing, I mean, you know, I know some of the industries use them. I think it's a great partnership, so I'm not sure if we get the numbers, you know, because of COVID didn't get any. And I understand the numbers have decreased quite a bit what we get. So I think it's important to have it, and, you know, like I said, this is a tough building from a standpoint is. If I was to look at the value of the building, if you tell me if I was gonna appraise the value of the building, I'd go, it's this level, but I do know replacement is a little higher, so can we find somewheres in here, you know?
It doesn't sound like the building's worth a lot, though, if it's that bad a shape.
So it's not bad,
I think it's in horrible shape. I don't know, I mean,
you don't wanna move it.
You don't want to move it though.
there is, it's concrete floor,
Yeah.
there's an overhead door, it is plumbed, there is plumbing. So there is not
I think that is just,
benefits.
staff got to the point where we weren't comfortable negotiating, but not talking to council about
Right.
the value of the building, so. I think, again, my 2 cents, you know, I was just, as we're sitting here talking, where it's kind of like we're talking about selling it to them, but probably what we should do is just lease them the building if we do a deal with them, because we're doing a land lease to them to make sure that that we want to make sure that the city maintains a level of control over the space, which is why we're gonna lease them land and let them build on it. We might just lease them the building for the same term, but that still doesn't solve the problem of kind of what's the right thing to do for compensation, because we've got a replacement, we gotta find somewhere else to use the structure. So what do you guys think about it? Question.
Well, you don't want the building there, right? Don't you wanna get rid of it?
No, we want to use it.
Oh, you wanna use, okay, I see.
Cause it'd be good for storage.
I think, I mean, economically, it, would just make sense to leave it and find a way
Yeah.
to complement, what's happening at the fair. Like I said, a multi-purpose type
Yeah,
facility that just flows right there. I mean, we're gonna have livestock and people flowing, you know, all between those buildings. It makes sense to give it a purpose during those
Yeah.
events.
It does have plumbing,
Mhm.
so they can do concessions, and I mean, there's some.
Yeah.
And again, I won't break the session laws here, but it, there's some possibilities there.
I don't care either way, sell it or lease it or
Yeah,
whatever.
I
I guess whatever.
In exchange for X amount of
I
dollars.
feel bad because I've had like 4 meetings with you, but we should probably just line up the lease and the land lease at the same firm. But with it, we started talking about this concept of really replacement cost value, but I don't think we'd sell you we wouldn't probably give you guys the deed to it because we're just trying to make sure that land stays. I mean, I think the city's goal, if we do this project, is for you guys to lease it forever. But we wouldn't want the county fair board to sell it to somebody else and have a neighbor next to the city property that we weren't expecting. That's the only thing we're worried about.
Right.
Which we can do that, we can
Yeah,
accomplish.
and we've gotten to a point where all the terms of the lease are very favorable to the Fair Association. It just made sense to us to make in consideration for this building all at the same time.
The building was, regardless if they own the building, the city owns the building, it will still be setting on leased property.
Correct.
Yeah, so we're talking the same thing.
How we handle it out there.
Yeah, it's just how much does the city think the fair board should pay for the building? That's the question.
Let's meet next week and knock it out. We'll bring it.
Come on up, Sabrina.
One thing I want to just bring, to light also is that because it was a maintenance building, I mean, that would be money that the fair board would have to put into that building to bring it up to, whatever we decide concession. We're not going to be using it as a maintenance building. We have other ideas for it, like Sarah said, storage, possibly concessions that goes with our fair. We would be adding value to that building, by doing things to it, to creating more than a maintenance building.
Correct.
as long as we can keep it at a middle fee for it, because it's for the community. Again, there you got a swimming pool, you got the library, you got the golf course. This is
We do
another-
rent the pool every
Yeah.
summer.
And this is just another identity in the city,
Now you
so
gotta pay more.
The farm kids are paying their share.
that was what I'm saying is we should make it where it's not a burden to the fair.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, but the Fair Association recognizes there is value. I mean, there's not an expectation of a donation, there's an expectation to satisfy both parties and create something that, as Alan has just talked about, benefits the community.
If the city council is so, I would, do we have a consensus to, for Patrick and I to meet with fair board representatives and bring something back next meeting?
Yeah.
That sounds great.
I'm feeling pretty good about it, so.
Right. Thank you for your
Thanks,
time.
Thanks. I'll send you an email, Sarah.
Hey Keith, before you leave, can you sign in on the paper, please? Thank you.
We didn't get to hear from Troy.
Troy,
What the heck, man?
The guy that signs the check.
Sarah did a great job.
Troy, he's all-
Right, so next agenda item is City of Ellsworth staff positions. I was asked by a fellow council member if this is something we need to discuss in open meeting or executive session.
It'd be open meeting because you're not talking about a specific person.
Okay.
So basic positions, we have, let me give you my viewpoint of it as coming in here, when I came here, and I realized what happened last year. City clerk was terminated. I don't know the process, hired, however, the person that was hired was made deputy and the city treasurer was made interim chairperson to work through. I don't know all what happened in discussion. I mean, I get pieces, but whatever happened, I don't know for sure. I would like to move forward with now, advertising that position. City clerk in this community is a little different than maybe other communities because we are a small office. And they're part of the office staff that has to do taking water payments to whatever. I mean, it's a work. It's no different than I had in Oakley, 35 years ago. So we have to do that. I know last year position before last year, the city clerk position always did the human resource position. The former administrator on how laid out. Made a city human resource person. If you look at the mess the city got into from 2020 to 24, because when I first walked down, I'm going like, why do you have I've been in small communities. However, when I see you had liabilities out there, maybe $100,000 perhaps. We're still working on a lot of these things yet of what we owe money on. Things weren't being sent in, HR was not being handled. You know, I'm coming in here and looking at some of the things we do HR wise. I believe HR has a place. Now, down the road, will that position always do HR? I think down the road, you can have auxiliary duties from purchasing to whatever. I mean, there's a lot of room out there. So I think that's, you know, the position, I mean, look, so when you have an HR, you didn't have one before. But when you had 4 years from 2020 to 2021, yeah, three, where your 941s? 941s weren't filed, you're behind in paying capers. We're gonna still work through some penalty issues yet, we don't know what they all are. I know we had one day where they said we owed $32,000. I believe we haven't got it finalized yet, it's gonna be a whole lot less. But it's just, we had a mess there, don't know what happened, wasn't here, can't, you know, it happens, and we gotta move forward, we gotta get together. Hiring practices and everything else, you know, nowadays I would argue that HR is important because hiring practice has gotta be good. Some of the days of the good old boy hirings and you know, work, and we gotta be able to share, we don't ask any questions that are wrong, so the city doesn't get sued. So I do believe that position has a value. The third position, of course, is, I know it was talked about, at least I saw it, does a public works position to tie maybe all our public works together. I think that would be a good job. The question would be is, do you want to move forward with that now? Or do you wait till whatever the next administrators hire, if they hire that person? And there's good and bad either way. I mean, that's up for you to decide. And then lastly, and again, I'm not in a hurry either way, because when I accepted this interim position, I knew that could be as short as a few months to maybe as long as a year and a couple of months. I understand that. And you know, some years, you know, again, from a personal standpoint, and you know, I don't need this job, so, but I like doing it, so. And I ain't getting, and you are paid, don't worry about that. But the bottom line still is, you know, from a public standpoint, and again, this is just 36 years experience, you might want to wait and do anything on your city administrator's position until you get through election filings. Because what's going to easily can happen is if you have people, because you have two council members and the mayor for election this year, if people run, they're gonna go, well, why can't you just wait until January to hire that? Because that way, because we're gonna be able 4 years, we want to be responsible. Good argument, bad argument. I know city managers, the Junction City job, it was in November, that's when election's still in April. I knew 3 city council commissioners could go away. Well, when you have 27 years experience, you're my age, you're going like, take that risk, you know, and I kept 2 and I lost 1, I got maybe a better person even, but, you know, I can get that, so that's fun, and I knew that from the get-go, but again, the city did not hire a city administrator, Mr. Panzer, they have an interim under contract. So just remember, it's the interim here, I enjoy doing it, I think I can add a lot, I do think, you know, I'm starting to hire a clerk now, I think I can provide some training and expertise to maybe get, you know, things organized a little bit. What makes it good is I'm the outside person coming in. So from working with the staff and everything else, my experience, you know, I think we can develop into that. So unless there's a issue, I mean, we want to move ahead with hiring a city clerk. Public works position. Do you want to wait? Do you want to do it now? Want to wait a while? I mean, I can see both ways. You know. The advantage to do it now is one, we can bring them on and we can develop it. The other thing is if we wait and you let the new administrator get it, but again, your new administrator will not have my experience.
Yeah. And maybe bringing a public works on now would be good with starting to train them before we get this lagoon project really up and going hardcore, in my opinion.
Yeah.
City administrator, I think we can wait. I think Alan's doing a great job, and I think until we get the mess cleaned up in the office, you're in the midst of it right now. I don't think bringing somebody in would be a good idea.
And I'm fine. Again, I don't mind that, you know, it's working well for me. You know, like I'm ready to on Fridays, so do I. But I try to add my wisdom every week, at least thoughts to think about. I think that's important. If not, we'll move ahead.
Do we have the budget for a public works director? What are your feelings about that?
I think we can make that, make it work, you know, budget's gonna be tight this year, we have some, you know, Angela got through the first 2 months of the year. Like in a couple of funds, which spend 20% of the year, and you should only be at 16 point, whatever it is, 16 point whatever. But you also gotta realize, like in the general fund or in the office fund there, you know, you made your work comp payment the first year. So you made a 12-month payment that comes out now, you know. Plus also, you did have some leftover in the form administrator because he was due his leave and everything, I mean, you know. Except they rolled into this year, but, again, nothing wrong with it. You know, I'm trying to keep my hours in that 30 a week, and like I told you, when we agreed to a price, you know, I don't take health insurance, so that's a savings there. So, you know, it's probably gonna be close to a wash, maybe a little less than that, you know, for me the year, and, but, you know, we're getting through there, work through it. I think budget this summer, we're just gonna have to really start hitting some things and talk about things. I'll make more comments about budget in my comments later.
Yeah.
All your number,
Find anybody.
look good. We'll keep in touch.
Okay. To the next agenda item, amendment to the 2025 fee schedule resolution 2025-16.
Of course, as you know, this is that schedule, whenever you change maintenance, we change the whole dang schedule, and we still got a lot of things we gotta go through yet, understand that. But Angela found the mistake, I think she wrote it out in her note. Was on a building permit fee, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, there was a mistake in there,
Yeah,
she just caught it. So this is, catch what Angela said,
okay.
but every time we make one little change, we'll probably bring in new with the pool fees and have it, so we have under one document, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But it looks kind of weird one time sometimes, but I also see why she likes it that way, because it's one source shopping.
Yeah. I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-16.
Right, it's been moved by Councilmember Renard, seconded to approve resolution 2025-16 to amend the 2025 fee schedule, seconded by Councilmember Hanson. Any further discussion, any questions? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Football field maintenance agreement.
He's here.
First, my apologies for being late. I have dueling meetings tonight, so. The agreement in front of you is nothing more than a renewal of the agreement we've already been doing for the last 2 years. It's a win-win both sides, both for us and the school. It's a great partnership. I know we're happy to be a part of it. They're happy that we are a part of it. So it's just nothing more than a renewal. I believe the only thing that got edited in there were the dates, correct?
And Patrick and I looked at the price and we felt very comfortable with that. Stayed with a 2-year agreement of one automatic one renewal. That way in 2 years, fees can be looked at again. That way it's not put to bed forever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Does it feel better since you've taken it over?
Yes. It's big.
It's hard to be honest with that.
I have some aerial photos that show the difference.
From the sidelines on Chain Gang, it looks amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good community partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we need a motion to approve the agreement.
I'm trying to find the number of the motion here.
Make the motion to approve the agreement with USD 327 to perform football field maintenance for 1 year and the option for 1 year renewal.
I'll second it.
Right, it's been moved by Councilmember Johnson to approve the agreement with USD 327 to perform football field maintenance for 1 year with the option for a 1-year renewal, seconded by Councilmember Panzer. Any further discussion? Any questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Patrick.
Patrick.
Okay, moving on to department heads. City inspector, Galvin, fire chief. Come on up.
I had the opportunity to come in and visit with Alan the other day, and I think most of you know that by nature I'm kind of a tightwad, but I did have something that came up, and I batted it around and want to propose this to you. Obviously, I've been here a lot and talked about our situation with the trucks. We're aware of all that, and we've got to work towards that. And we're well aware of our progression that we've been working on for PPE, our personal protective equipment, and how we've gone through the granting process, and we are completely filled out and applied for that. We'll see how that goes. My had hopes had been last year that I would get to purchase some gear last year, and we're gonna have to do that towards the end of this year. We'll see where we're at. But the other thing that is of great importance to us is obviously our air packs. And so a really quick short history about what happened and what we've got and why I'm here and what I'd like to do. Is a lot, the current air packs that we're running, it doesn't really mean much to you, but it's a Scott air pack, is an AP75. What that means is that's a 2007 design. It's not that they're terribly bad packs, but realizing that it's a 2007 in design. And we got these as a refurbished packs, I believe in 17. I'm not positive on that, but the design series is a 2007. Air packs are very, very expensive. Obviously, that's our lifeline. That's what, when we're in a hazardous environment. But an air pack is just a pack, and then bottles is extra and masks are extra, et cetera. So in the conversations, one of our former residents of Ellsworth is actually now on the fire department in Manhattan. This is how this conversation went. A lot of the big municipalities know that they can get the warranties and get the stuff, and so they are on a program that they're gonna replace their packs every 10 years. So Manhattan just spent $750,000 to replace 62 packs. They're expensive, you do that math. The conversation then came up and through the connections that we had is like, well, hey, what are you gonna do with the old ones? Just kind of having a conversation. And so they have offered to us the opportunity to buy the packs of what they were allowed in a trade-in fee of basically of $500 a piece. So what we would be doing in this proposal is I'm coming to that to seek permission to come out of my budget. It would be to buy 25 packs. That's what we have. We have 25 packs that are these AP75s that are a 2007 model. Like anything, they have to be serviced and whatnot. As a matter of fact, the very beginning of last year, I think, or the end of the previous year, I sent 5 of them in to have service. I actually have 6 that I've pulled out of service now that need to go in. We're gonna spend anywhere probably $200 to $300. They have bad boards that go in them to have them serviced, plus all the freight and everything. So I've got $1,500 to $2,000 worth of repairs on packs if I send them in now. If we get the next series up, these are all 4,500 pounds. This is what's called the X3 series. It's a 2013 series. So Manhattan bought these new in 13. They ran the 10 years. They're staying into the warranty. They are now buying the XP3 Pros, which is a 2018. That's the most current model. So my proposal is this: if these go back to a company like the companies that sell these and they refurbish them, and I can't tell you to what extent they refurbish them. I don't know if they're putting in complete new boards and new diaphragms, but they will sell these packs then back out for $22.95, just as Scotia Center, $2,300. Manhattan has offered us the chance to buy them at $500 a piece. If I send the 6 in, I'm going to spend $300 a piece to service the 6 that I've got. So in this whole gamut, it wasn't necessarily something that was on my front end radar, but it's kind of like a vehicle, and it's just simply that. We would be going from a 2007 generation to a 2013 design.
And we would be jumping roughly, even if these were manufactured, they were manufactured a little bit after us, and I think there are probably 8 or 9 models. Probably a municipality ran them close to the 10 years, traded them in, refurbished them. That's how we bought these when we got them. My bottles are current. I do need to hydro bottles every 5 years. So there's cost that goes with that, but all of our bottles are current and good. And our masks we're gonna change, so we don't need to buy masks and we don't need to buy bottles. So, my question to this is, because it's over the 10,000, is if we bought 25 of them, it would cost us $12,500. We would jump to 10 years. There again, it's a mechanical thing. I mean, they are going to need some point in time service and repairs. Manhattan has their own tech to service their own packs in-house. We don't, and you can't service packs or get parts if you're not certified. We have to send that off to do that. But the chief, I've talked to the chief and he's like, I will guarantee that when they come to you, they're 100% working. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. I'm a type 1, more interested in kind of saving the money, but I see it as a pretty good opportunity to jump 10 years in our packs, get newer packs, get an upgraded model in that pack. And based on what I'm spending on service, not be a whole lot more and jump into some newer packs. And then along that, if it would be all right, there is no resale value, because I checked on this on the one, they're so old, they have no value. The companies are not buying them and refurbishing them, they're done. And so that quickly means that soon that there won't be parts for them. But in along the way to benefit some others, I have talked to some of the other departments around that are not as in good a place, and I would even be willing, because they have no value, and we would be taking them out of service, to see if I could even get them to them, literally even at a donation, saying, look, you gotta take care of your own bottles, you gotta take care of your own masks. But then we have the ability to either fill your packs or to cross-train with them and have everybody on the same page. So that in a nutshell is kind of what, it wasn't something that was immediately on my radar. It kind of came up in a conversation. I visited with Alan, and like I say, 25 packs, $500 a piece, $12,500. And I've got $1,500 to $2,000 worth of repairs, and I have 6 out of service right now. So that's kind of what I'm here. So I would field any questions that I'm able to answer. Yes, sir.
Also remember, there's a good part, and I like dealing with Steve because he's conservative. But remember, and again, I wasn't here yet, I was watching the meeting last fall, where he went ahead and had permission to prepay the note that he had remaining on a truck, was it?
Yes, on the aerial.
On the aerial. So that money that was scheduled for this year, so financialists work. And again, he came last year and says, we were conservative enough, let's pay it ahead. He paid ahead, stopped a little interest on it, but also what was gonna come out of this year's budget went away too.
I'm all for it.
I'm for it too.
Yeah.
When you look at the 12,500, you think, what's one life worth? Yeah, yeah, worth a lot more than that.
Yeah, and like I say, and the other thing of it is if they traded them in and we went to the same company and said, hey, we know you got some new packs, what we buying? Their sellout rate is $22.95.
Yeah, it's not like you guys are overpaid either.
So, well, I appreciate that too.
Yeah, it's all volunteer.
But I do think from my position that it's an opportunity. Yes, it always costs money, but it's an opportunity for us to jump an entire series in the packs, go to a newer pack, and stay a little, attempting to stay more current, better safety conscious, better equipment. They're again trying to keep our guys as safe as we possibly can.
Yeah, going for it. Do we need a formal motion?
No, let's move ahead with it, then delegate for the.
Yeah, very good.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Patrick Golf Patrick?
I don't have anything else specifically. I've been to a meeting in a while, happy to answer any questions anybody may have. And just also thank you for the continued support about what we're doing up there. You guys help make that happen, so.
Food was good today.
Excellent. Which you try?
Western.
Lunch, Monday and Friday, 11 to 4, papers listening or anything.
It's so good.
So, any questions or anything?
No.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, Chief Penny. All right, thank you. Recreation, Ronnie.
I don't have nothing.
All right. And Troy wasn't here. And water, no one's here. Dave, sorry, do you have anything for water department, Dave?
No, but I need to talk to Alan sometime this week. If I can do it yet.
Just so you know, I'll be out, I'm here all week. I think.
Okay, now it looks like we have our police stats from February in our packets. Thank you for that, Chief Penny. Patrick Hoffman, city attorney.
I don't have anything unless you have a question.
Anything from the clerk's office, Mandy?
Okay, hello.
Alan?
Insurance renewal for property liability insurance. Don't got it all worked out yet, but talking to. There's the
Lucas Barter.
Luke Sparta. Yeah. It looks like our rate's gonna be about $162,000. When you work with EM, and it still is with Continental Western, when you work with EMC, you're paying $178. So a little increase from last year, but still less than you were 2 years ago. So let's get on that because they'll take effect April 1. I think one notice, Chief Administrators, I would like your council members.
We should make you pay us $1 every time you say that. Each of us. There we go. Yeah.
I spent the first 19 years of my career having a council. I spent the last 16 years having a commission. So I've had a council more, but yeah.
He could
Nevertheless,
be calling us worse.
That's
yeah. I would like to, you know, and again, mine's all about is trying to work as a team and work together. I would like to make a change on the agenda back and then, in other words, if any of you see a need for anything on the agenda, even in executive session, let me know weekend time, we can put it on the agenda. Have a session, a beginning here where it says agenda approvals, at the beginning of the meeting. The chairman or the mayor, or the charge, and I would say, does anyone want to change the agenda? If you want to add an executive session, you do it at that time. That way we don't have any debacles like we had last time, again, not say anything.
Yeah.
The intent was right, but it makes us look less professional. And it'll tighten, they improve the agenda, so no more at the end of the meeting, anyone in executive session, yeah. Well, if you do that now, then you get staff members and everything else, it's telling the community, you know. I hate, you know, we do apologize for missing that piece on the agenda for the proposed pool fees. We're working that, and, you know, getting staff and everything else going. But the point is I believe that the public should see our agenda in full when it goes out. And unless, I hate changing agendas unless one, it's a minor 5 and dime thing, or I've had things in my life where we may get a letter from KDOT this morning that says, you gotta reply by next Tuesday. Well, I'm adding that to the agenda because hopefully there's dollars attached to it, you know?
Right.
So that's one thing we'll do. So I will make that change on the agenda, how we do things. Again, it's just to maybe show a little more unity as a group and a team working together. So again,
City Council, Councilmember Hanson.
I don't think this is a city issue, but I had somebody ask me, so, apparently the classy lady has to move. The building is, I guess, sold or in, you know, process of. She approached me about, is there anything we can do about the building, the old antique mall that's sitting there empty, because they've tried to get a hold of the guy that bought it. To maybe use part of that for their, and I told her, I said, I really don't think there's anything we can do if he's not in violation of any, and he's paying his taxes. I told her I would ask. So, and I just said, I will ask, but I said, I'm pretty sure unless there's any violations or no payment of taxes, there's nothing we can do. He can do whatever he chooses with that building.
correct.
And that's what I told her, but I told her I would ask.
I don't know all the status right now, because what happened to girls with this, the person is how you find the building. But maybe that's the first she needs to reach out to this girl elsewhere.
Okay, yeah, she just came into the office and asked, and I said, I can sure ask, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing that we can do. So I was just asking.
You have to keep it up, my wife will move here if we don't.
So that's all I have.
I could lease out that kitchen to him.
They've tried to contact him, I guess, and he won't even reply, so she just asked,
So he's down at Florida.
yeah. But she just asked and I told her I would ask, and I didn't figure there was, but I just told her I would ask. Yep, so that's it.
Councilmember Cruiser.
Yeah, I just have one little thing. I've been asked about the car wash out here, our new car wash. And we got our golf sheds out there by the golf course. And I don't know if it's feasible or even against the law, but can we make a golf cart trail or zone out there where people can take their golf carts down that one road to the car wash, wash them and return them back to the golf course? It's about what, a 3-block area, would you say, Patrick?
Yeah. Let's have this.
What do you think about that, Pat? Both Patricks.
Well, I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to do that. You can legally drive your golf carts on the streets, you have to go through, you know.
Yeah, but they said, since they're not gonna be driving around all over town, they just wanna go to the car wash down the street and back to the golf course. I said, I'll ask, but I'm not.
I think it's a great idea, honestly, probably Chief Penny should probably weigh in on what he thinks about that, but I mean, I have golf cart crossing signs up there that don't really mean much, but they're there, people know golf carts are coming through, so.
Straight to jail.
I mean, I don't see a problem with it. Somehow we're gonna have to differentiate between the ones that drive them in town all the time and the ones that are just going from the shed to wash their car. They're on the street, they won't look at us, you know, if they're gonna drive their work street, say, I was gonna have an inspection with us, they're gonna have their flag, everything else, so. That's the only place it would get sticky is if an officer stops them, they're like, oh, I'm going to the car wash. Well, are they really, or are they not?
I mean, if they're out front here, they cannot go in the car.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only place that would get sticky with us in that situation.
No, they have to stay on that one street, that's
Yeah.
to and from, there's no other way around that.
I just think that would.
What do you think about it? You see any problem doing that?
Probably needs to probably put something legal looking, so just to cover ourselves.
Okay,
I don't know, we allow golf carts downtown?
Yes.
Oh, we do, okay.
Well, yeah,
Well,
you
they
gotta
have to
get a,
be, you
you
have
gotta
to
get
be
like a city
sticker, and they have to have flags on them, they are.
I probably think
Yeah, they have to have a flag, and I believe it's a slow moving triangle, I believe, and they have to register it and get a license from chief.
They have to have reflectors and everything else on it, so they can.
bring your recommendation back,
I'm sorry.
work something out and bring a recommendation back.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, chief.
All right, thanks, Dylan. I mean, Councilmember Penzer. Councilmember Johnson.
Nope.
Okay, Councilmember Renard.
I don't have anything.
Right, there was one thing that, Jim Bontrager had said that he didn't talk about, so this might be a little too late, but she had asked about us considering, lowering pool rates for low-income audiences. Is that anything that you have ever run it into?
Here's your
I feel
problem,
like you're getting.
here's your problem,
People are gonna.
I'm low income too.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you justify it? Yeah.
I mean, and how do you do that? And I understand totally where she's coming from. In other words, we probably have people living in town in houses that are paying now that their income levels are that or less. And my heart says it's a great thing to do. The practical side, I'm not sure if you can.
I guess for me, where I'm standing is, it doesn't come out of their rent, or they don't pay it on top of their rent. It comes out of my budget, so that's what my, but I'm cool either way you go.
Let me toss that around.
So,
Okay, toss it wherever you want.
Yeah, I see what we're saying, and maybe,
yeah.
Call your commissioner.
But you're talking $3 on each water meter, is that what?
No, we only have 2 water meters.
they pay 3 per unit.
Yeah.
We
So she
just
said
raised
72
per apartment.
Oh,
So, yeah, we
Maybe
have
there's a way
well,
to,
why do they, I mean, if you only got 2
Maybe
meters,
there's
shouldn't it be $6?
no,
Or no?
if you had an apartment complex with 1 meter,
I
Okay.
just split it, okay. I
yeah,
didn't know that.
maybe.
because
Let's
all
talk
their
about my kids,
utilities.
idea about.
Yeah.
For like low rent housing issue or.
Yeah,
or-
because Chisholm Trail and
Hello.
Kirkendall then would all be part of that as well.
Let's, let me think about it.
Yeah.
Give me a holler, Jan, come talk to me.
Okay.
I'll make sure we're not missing anybody,
Yeah.
because I don't, if you're gonna do it for her complex, we can do it for others.
I didn't
Yeah,
even open up a
because
can of worms there.
Yeah, and see, we are government low income, but so is Chisholm Trails and Kirkendall and.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
Chisholm Trails is gonna be a lot.
Yeah, if you did it all, it'd be a lot.
How many? is
Like I
Kirkendall
said, you
like?
know, for my overall budget, it takes, I'm paying $72 a month for pool fee out of the Pines budget.
Right.
Yeah, but like I said, I'll go with whatever you're fine.
That was the only thing I just felt bad that we hadn't talked about.
Yeah.
Is the mayor on?
Yes.
Mayor, do you want to, did you have any comments to add?
He's probably a teacher.
Yeah, he said that, but he might jump on for comments.
You know?
He's on. I don't have any text from him. All right. Anything else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Been moved by Councilmember Hanson, seconded by Councilmember Johnson to adjourn the meeting at 6:46. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting. Good job.
Okay.